Trigger warning. The following documentary contains extensive discussion of abuse, especially sexual abuse or torture. Viewer discretion is advised. This is What Happens in the Dark Will Come to Light. 3 types of abuse we will be mainly focusing on is physical, sexual, and verbal. Anyone you know can be abused. The first one will be physical abuse. That's when someone hurts or harms someone else on purpose. For an example, hitting with hands or objects, slapping, punching. Sexual abuse, also known as manipulation or rape, is basically when someone is abused by sexual behavior by another person. It is also often perpetrated using force or taking advantage of somebody. Verbal abuse, also known as emotional abuse, is a range of words or behaviors used to manipulate, intimidate, and maintain and control over somebody. Here we'll be interviewing 39-year-old Jamila Patterson. What types of abuse did you go through?
I've experienced verbal abuse and sexual abuse.
All right. Would you tell me what you were able to remember about your experiences?
What I remember is being scared, how it made me feel, wanting this to never happen again, and never wanting anyone that I knew to go through what I went through.
Here we'll be interviewing 27-year-old Stacey White Chambers.
27.
Okay. What type of abuse did you go through?
I went through sexual abuse.
Okay. Would you able to tell me what are you able to remember about this experience?
What I remember, I was like 7 or 8, and it was with someone I considered family, and my mom would leave him to watch us while she went to work, and I try to oppress the memory. So what I remember is him on top of me and just basically saying it's okay, it's gonna be okay, and him touching me while he was on top of me.
We will be interviewing 40-year-old Katora Kelly.
I was born in Jersey, raised in New York, but currently live in Philadelphia. I am the mother of Anaya Pickett.
Okay. Would you tell me what you remember about your experience with abuse?
It was terrible. And why am I going through this? Did I deserve to go through this? When is it ever going to stop?
Nearly 80% of female sexual assault victims experience their first assault before the age of 25. Approximately 70 women commit suicide every day in the U.S. following an art of sexual assault. Between 50 to 80% of adults may experience emotional abuse in their lifetime.
Has this experience brought any mental health problems?
It changed the way I don't trust people. It affected my relationships because I don't trust people. So.
Have you ever told anyone or received help?
I did. It took me years to tell someone. I recently, maybe 2 years ago, told my family.
Have you ever told anyone or received help?
Yes and no.
How old were you when it started?
Oh, child. In my 20s.
Was it a stranger or someone you know?
Someone I know.
This is very vague, Mom. What type of abuse was it?
Physical and emotional. Sure.
Has this experience brought you any health problems?
Yes.
Go into it, Mom.
In 2017, I had to have brain surgery to remove a brain tumor that occurred due to result of physical abuse.
How many times did it happen?
Too many to count. Eventually, I got tired of the situation. I went to the courthouse after calling the cops, and they told me that I needed to get a restraining order, but did not give me full details on what the restraining order should consist of. So I followed the instructions and went and got the restraining order. Once I got the restraining order, I was informed that he would still be able to stay in my household due to the fact that the restraining order did not consist of an eviction notice. So I had to return the next day to get a restraining order with the eviction notice, and that's when I served it to the cops, and they came and evicted him.
Okay. What are you able to tell me about what happened before?
Well, the verbal abuse, someone putting me down, telling me I was ugly, I was fat, nobody would want me, things of that nature, and someone taking my innocence away when I was a little girl, which was out of my control. Them doing things to me that they weren't supposed to do. Those are the things that I experienced. Was physically, sexually doing things to me. And I was told if I said anything to my mother that I would be shot, and that he showed me his gun. And he did what he wanted to. And I was very scared because I thought he was gonna kill me.
Has this experience brought any mental problems like PTSD or affecting you today?
Well, I blocked it out for so long. I guess I kind of do have PTSD. PTSD. I try to block it out. So when I went by the house that it happened, all the memories came back. All the memories came back, and I was in my car with one of my children, and I was crying uncontrollably and just wondering why somebody would do that to me, why somebody would take my innocence away. I was just a little girl. It has affected me in the way I parent. I don't trust anyone, not even family, with my children. So it has affected me in my life, especially me having a little girl. I don't let her go anywhere and spend a night over anyone's house. Even my boys, I don't like them to spend a night out either. So it has affected me. It made me a better parent.
Can you give anyone advice?
Pay attention to all of the warning signs. They're there for a reason. Sometimes we just don't pay attention like we should, but you really do need to pay attention.
Can you give advice to someone who's afraid to tell their story?
It wasn't your fault. People are scared to tell because they think either you won't believe them or it's their fault, or they don't want to, make trouble for their parents and stuff like that. So just don't be afraid to tell someone it's not your fault, and you're strong. You'll get through it.
Okay, thank you.
Can you give some advice to anyone out there afraid to tell their story?
It's very hard to relive the past and it's a very emotional thing, a very hurtful thing, a very private thing to go through. But if you don't tell your story, you could be hurting yourself. You could be doing more damage to yourself if you don't tell your story. You have to let it out. You can't keep that in, because keeping it in will hurt you, and it'll manifest into something else. But telling your story, someone may have went through what you went through, and you never know. So if you tell your story, the next little girl or the next little boy will be ready to tell their story, because you were brave enough to tell your story. So don't be scared, and don't feel ashamed, because what you went through could help somebody else. It may hurt you and you may feel embarrassed, but you shouldn't. You should feel really proud of yourself for coming out and for telling what happened to you. Don't let anyone silence you. Never let anyone silence you. You speak your truth. And whether people believe you or not, you still tell your truth anyway, because you could be helping the next person who's holding that in to tell their truth. So always, always speak your mind. Say how you feel. If something happens to you, tell a parent, tell a teacher, tell a friend, someone that you can really trust, and you know who's going to say something. Go to the police if you need to, but never hold it in. Always tell your truth, because you can help somebody else.
If you know anyone that is going through these problems or these types of abuse, please do not hesitate to help them or call for help. You or anyone you know is in an abusive relationship, do not hesitate to call the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 800-799-7233. That is 800-799-7233.